Most people grow up believing there's only one path to success, which is buying a home as soon as they can. It's treated like a milestone of adulthood, almost as if you don't own your own home, you're somehow falling behind. But what if that old advice is now outdated or just completely wrong? So today, I want to share something that might sound a little bit controversial, why I think renting can actually be better than buying a home. I know this goes against the grain. Homeownership is deeply ingrained in our culture, especially here in Australia and places like America. But there are some real benefits to renting and some serious downsides to owning that I don't think get talked about nearly enough. I've personally rented ever since moving out of home, so this is something I've thought about a lot. And in this video, I want to walk through 5 reasons why renting can be the smarter option, financially, for your lifestyle, and long term. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm Sam. I'm a qualified lawyer. I worked in law for nearly 10 years, and these days I work in insurance underwriting. But for over a decade, I've been studying and learning about personal finance, investing, and building wealth. And over that time, I've built myself a multi-million-dollar property portfolio. And I've created this channel to pass on what I've learned throughout my journey and hopefully help other people achieve their goals in their own financial lives. So without further ado, let's get into it. One of the biggest advantages of renting is how low the upfront costs are. If you want to rent a property, your main expenses are really just the cost of moving and a rental bond, which is usually around 4 weeks worth of rent. And assuming that you look after the property and don't cause any serious damage, you'll get that bond back when you move out. That's basically it. Now compare that to buying a home. For most people, buying a home is the largest financial commitment they're ever going to make. So it's not just a purchase, it's a major life decision. As a general rule, you will need around a 20% deposit plus stamp duty and legal fees, which often add another 5% or so of the property's value. Realistically, this means you'll need around 25% of the property's value in cash just to get in the door. On an $800,000 home, that could mean needing more than $200,000 upfront. For many people, that takes years and sometimes over a decade of disciplined saving. And during that time, your money is effectively locked away rather than being used for things like investing, career growth, travel, or just simply giving yourself more flexibility in your life. And renting removes that huge barrier to entry. Another underrated benefit of renting is that the ongoing costs are much lower and far more predictable. As a renter, you're generally only paying rent, your utilities like electricity, gas, and water usage, and contents insurance if you choose to have it, which is pretty cheap anyway. If something breaks, whether it's the hot water system, the roof, or the plumbing, that's the owner's responsibility and it's at their cost, not yours. Now compare that to owning a home. A lot of people argue that if mortgage repayments are the same as the rent you're paying, then you may as well just own the place, right? But that comparison only looks at rent versus mortgage repayments, and it ignores the full costs of ownership. Homeowners also have to cover property insurance and council and water rates and ongoing maintenance and repairs and strata fees if it's a strata place. A practical rule of thumb is to allow 1 to 1.5% of the purchase price of the property each year for maintenance and then adjust that over time for inflation. So on a $600,000 home, that can easily mean $6,000 to $9,000 every year just to keep the place in good condition. And those costs can add up quickly, and renters just simply don't have to wear them. So if you value simplicity and fewer surprise bills, then renting often is the winner here. Renting can also give you access to lifestyle locations that many people just simply can't afford to buy into. Most people want to live close to work, near public transport, and around cafes and parks and schools and other amenities like that. These tend to be inner city or middle ring suburbs. But those areas are often extremely expensive to buy into, especially in cities like Sydney. and especially for first home buyers. What's interesting though is that higher value properties often have lower rental yields. Putting that in simple terms, rent as a percentage of the property's value is often lower, which means it can be surprisingly affordable to rent in areas where buying would be completely out of the question. So you might not be able to buy in a premium suburb, but you can often rent there at a fraction of the cost of ownership. And that can mean shorter commutes to work, better access to amenities, and a higher quality day-to-day lifestyle for yourself. And if you are set on buying, you might instead be pushed into the outer suburbs with longer travel times and fewer services and a lifestyle that you didn't really want. So renting can sometimes offer better value for money from a lifestyle perspective. One of the most common criticisms of renting is that if you rent, you're not building wealth. And it is true that owning a home can build equity over time, but there is another side to that story. For most people, their home becomes their largest and often their only major asset. That's why so many people later in life end up asset rich, but cash poor. They have spent decades directing most of their income into their mortgage repayments, maintenance, upgrades, insurance, and rates. And that creates a massive opportunity cost. Money that's tied up in a home is money that cannot be used easily elsewhere. Renting, on the other hand, can allow you to maintain stronger cash flows and direct that surplus money into income-producing assets like shares, ETFs, businesses, or investment properties. Personally, I don't own a home right now, but instead, I focus on accumulating investment properties. That allows me to generate rental income and take advantage of the tax benefits of the tax system, and also leverage the rental income from the tenant and those tax benefits to help cover most of the costs while building equity across all of those assets. So while renting itself doesn't build wealth, it can support a smarter wealth building strategy if you use the freed up cash intentionally. It's not really about whether you rent or whether you own your own home, it's about how productively you use your money. So I just want to take a quick pause here, guys. I'm curious to know, what do you personally think about renting versus owning your own home? Let me know in the comments. I do read them all, and I genuinely enjoy seeing different perspectives. And if you're finding the video useful so far, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. It really does help me out. All right, let's get back to it. One of the biggest and most underrated advantages of renting is flexibility. Life changes so quickly, and you might change jobs or move cities, or you might want to live closer to family, or you might need to relocate for health or relationships, or simply want to start afresh. When you rent, moving is relatively easy and inexpensive. Leases are usually short-term, and even breaking one early often involves a manageable penalty. In Sydney, for example, the worst case cost might be around 4 weeks of rent, and that reduces the further that you're actually into the lease. This gives you the freedom to design your life around your priorities rather than around a mortgage. Owning a home is very different. Selling can take months, and it involves agent commissions, legal fees, marketing costs, and uncertainty. And if you buy again, you are also paying stamp duty and transaction costs all over again. On a $600,000 property, moving homes can easily cost $40,000 or more. Those costs often keep people stuck in places that no longer suit them. So renting allows you to be more mobile, flexible, and adaptable. Alright guys, those are my 5 reasons why renting can be better than buying a home. So this video hasn't been about saying renting is always better or that owning a home is a mistake. It's simply challenging the idea that there's only one correct path. So renting shouldn't be seen as failing, it's not wasting money, and it doesn't have to be permanent either. It's just one strategy, and for some people, at certain stages of life, it can be the smarter choice. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, and if you want to keep learning about smarter money decisions, check out my next video on 5 things you should know before buying a home. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.